and I just wanted to go live because I typically don't like to do like celebrity issues and things of that nature, but I felt like there's something I wanted to address when it came to this whole Chris Rock Will Smith situation, and that is basically the power question, right? The question of power in all of this. Um, when I first saw it, I mean, the Oscars is not something that's like a hugely watched event. Typically the people who benefit from the Oscars are like those who, um, like the next day celebrity gossip show, like Extra and Access Hollywood, and um, of course I remember the Fashion Police. Rest in peace, Joan Rivers. That those are like the shows that would benefit from the Oscars, but most people don't really watch them because a lot of people didn't even really see the films that were even nominated. Because typically the critically acclaimed films are not usually the blockbusters, right? Nobody nominated Spider-Man or whatever the most popular movie was. So when I saw this, I initially thought, okay, this is like a publicity stunt between two comedic actors to kind of progress the show. And well, guess it turns out it wasn't. So with that being said, um, the question came to mind to me. Immediately, I thought of um, the Golden Globes and Ricky Gervais. So Ricky Gervais, if you guys don't know him, is a British comedian who was essentially the creator of the show The Office. And The Office basically is a show that reruns of The Office, rank better sometimes in TV ratings and streaming services than some of the newer shows that are out. So um, it's crazy that someone with this much clout, he hosted the Golden Globes 5 years in a row. The last year, he said something really out of pocket, right? He said something very, very out of pocket to the viewing audience. And one of the things that he said was along the lines of, you pretend to be all woke, but if Al Jazeera were to get a streaming service, you guys would all be calling your agents, right? That was one of the out of pocket jokes he told. And then he told a lot of other jokes that maybe we didn't get as a viewing audience, but the people who were in attendance definitely got it. And some of the people he offended were Ellen DeGeneres, and we all know that she's had scandals since then, so he alluded to that. Jennifer Aniston and Tom Hanks. So um, after that, despite the fact that Ricky Gervais probably has one of the most powerful sitcoms in the world, he has been canceled since then because there's just certain things you don't say to certain people. We have heard hide no, nor hair from Ricky Gervais. Tom Hanks very well could have slapped Ricky Gervais, right? But he didn't. He just ended Ricky Gervais. Allegedly. Allegedly. I'm going to say this allegedly, right? So that really needs to be the discussion. Like, why was this just not like a power move where Chris Rock all of a sudden now looks like a victim and now his speaking concert tour, his comedy tour is now sold out because everybody wants to hear what he has to say. And, he's gotten a lot of clout as a result of this. The joke right now is that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock into a new income bracket. And I also think too that there was a conversation. There's been some audio going around about how Chris Rock was asked politely by Will Smith to refrain from jokes. Now, with this being said, I do not think that the Smiths are completely innocent in all this. I just think that when you go around and you are nominated to be Best Actor, when you put a lot of your personal life on display up for public consumption, then you are going to be subject to getting jokes told about you. If I'm not mistaken, one of the other hosts had made a joke about their open marriage, and everybody kind of skated by. Again, I didn't watch the whole show because this is not an event I usually watch from beginning to end. I was rooting for Will Smith in King Richard because when I saw that scene when the police came to the house, and he was like, "What you ain't gonna do?" I knew at then. I said, "That's Will's Oscar right there. That was his Denzel moment." And I felt that was bad that it was overshadowed by what happened. But at the same time, Chris Rock, if someone is asking you to extend them a professional courtesy in this type of environment, it is in your best interest to extend that professional courtesy. I just think that there's some things that you just can't say to some people. And he's lucky all he got was slapped because he could have got Ricky Gervais. And also, too, when we think about the climate in Hollywood the past few years with Me Too, many people more powerful than Chris Rock have just been canceled and have just fallen off the face of the earth. I think when we thought about Me Too, we thought it was like these young, like little chippy casting couch actresses who were trying to get clout off of the name of some of these actors, but that wasn't the case at all. Many of these women who got a lot of these actors canceled were related to or in relation to very heavy Hollywood hitters. And one I think of in particular is Jeremy Piven. That's one. Before uh, Issa Rae was the golden girl of HBO, Sex and the City had been long gone, Sopranos had been long gone, Entourage, and the character he created, Ari Gold, had probably won more Emmys than any other show on cable TV at that time. That's how powerful Jeremy Piven was. Canceled. He said the wrong thing to the wrong person, canceled. Another person got canceled for saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, Louis C.K., again, a comedian who was selling out stadiums. He had his own show on one of Fox's networks, FXX, hosted Saturday Night Live. His career was taken off into the stratosphere. Again, he was in Chris Rock's crew. He was in Dave Chappelle's crew, said the wrong thing to the wrong people, and then got canceled. Ain't heard hide no hair from Louis C.K. James Franco, that was another one. This guy had been in Hollywood since he was a teenager. I'm talking SAG Award, Oscar nominations, Golden Globes, from Pineapple Express to 129 Hours. To The Room. James Franco was a juggernaut, but said the wrong thing to the wrong producer's wife at one point in his career, and now James Franco is gone. We ain't seen nothing from James Franco. So again, just goes to show you that you can't say the wrong things to the wrong people. And Will Smith is out here slapping folks, knowing how Hollywood works, when you can just end their careers. Another person whose career got ended, Casey Affleck. Do you remember Manchester by the Sea? That was like the big deal of the Oscars. He had finally come out of the shadow of being Ben Affleck's younger brother. And then here he goes, says the wrong thing to the wrong girl. And then guess what? We ain't seen no more Casey Affleck. Now, he did try to make up for it in the movie Light of My Life. It's on Amazon Prime. Ladies, check that movie out. I think that with some of the conversations happening on in the BWE space, and then, of course, conversations in other sectors of manosphere, even Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson have been having these conversations about population collapse. That movie is it's a post-apocalyptic world, and it's a pretty deep movie. And not like I'm trying to support someone who treats women badly, because I can definitely tell he was trying to make amends with this movie. Definitely very frightening, especially if you have daughters. But check that movie out. It's called Light of My Life with Casey Affleck. Really interesting movie. So again, just makes me think like maybe this could have been a better power move on behalf of Will. I mean, because clearly him, Denzel, Bradley Cooper, Tom Cruise, they're kind of all in this thing together, and they really could have had galvanized a lot of power, especially around the issue of alopecia, because we really don't know the underlying cause of Jada Pinkett's alopecia. I think that she did talk about that it had to do with the Hollywood beauty standards, but we don't know if there's like an autoimmune or some kind of underlying inflammatory issue. maybe being menopausal, or it could be hormonal issue that's causing her alopecia, because alopecia usually is not like idiopathic. It's usually nothing in and of itself. It's usually related to something else. So, or it could just be a medical condition that the Smith family is not willing to expose right now. So, I just think that they could have definitely galvanized um, people around this and just hurt Chris Rock in the pocket. I also think that it would have been in Chris Rock's best interest to sort of give Will Smith that professional courtesy, knowing that number one, Chris Rock's in his 50s. He really doesn't want to be doing stand up on the road for too much longer. Number two, he has aspirations. You know, he's trying to be the next like Black Woody Allen. If you saw like I Think I Love My Wife, if you saw Top Five, um, you definitely know that Chris. If you saw like the last season that he starred in Fargo, you know Chris Rock has different aspirations other than always being like Pootie Tang and CB4. You know, um, he definitely has higher aspirations, and I definitely think that Will Smith could have helped him garner that if he would have extended that professional courtesy. But you know, neither one of them really made a power move or a power decision. The second thing that I've noticed in all this is too, it made me realize how many, pardon my language, how many Black people don't read. Like, Black people, let's make an effort to read. Have none of y'all read Will's book? Like, they kind of paint Will as this like victim of Jada's infidelity and da 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 da. Have y'all not read Will Smith's autobiography? Like, he was basically like a sex addict. And of the men and women, listen, quiet as it's kept, the men and women that Will Smith had, he was actually in the process of like constructing some sort of harem until his therapist kind of had to get involved, like, hey, we got to wrangle this in. You know what I mean? Like, y'all, please read Will's book. And the thing about Will's book, this is what's so crazy, is that when Jada Pinkett Smith and her whole issue with August Alsina, who was basically a clout chaser, came out in public, like, here's my thing. Like, here's the issue with August Alsina, is very public. He has kind of left Jada out there twisting in the wind like she was the only guilty party in this, right? Just kind of left her twisting in the wind. It wasn't until 2 years later that after that Red Table Talk, that he wrote his book, and then he hid it in a book. It's not like he went public with it and like went on tour with it or told everybody that story. He kind of left his basic quote unquote sex addiction in his book. I mean, I think the only person who I really saw cover it in the Black YouTube space was like Kev on Stage, right? Nobody else really covered Will Smith's indiscretions. And that's what made me think like, oh, Black people, we need to read. Like, we need to read. You know what I mean? And then I also think that that book came out in order to kind of like inoculate us as the audience, because I think that he knew that he was up for an Oscar when he filmed this. Not just this, but also his documentary for Disney Plus, National Geographic's, that that people could possibly come out. So he kind of had to inoculate his audience. And so it was written in the book. So it's public, but not as public as what Jada had to do. So again, it just was really disingenuous. Like, Will's outrage was so disingenuous, in my opinion, of that Red Table Talk. And I don't know. I've just never really been a big fan of either of them. But I have been a fan of Chris Rock's. I think he handled himself well, but I just think that that's just really a poor power move on his part. Like, I just think that if he would have handled that better, it could have benefited everyone, because not too many people even watch or talk about the Oscars other than what people are wearing. And it could have had that slap not happen. I'm sure everybody involved wishes that slap didn't happen. But had that slap not happened, we would have been having very different conversations about this. So again, I think for me, it's the lack of understanding of power and power structures in Hollywood. I think it's a lack of understanding of like professionalism and professional courtesies. And Black folks, we need to read. We need to read. We can't be giving these celebrities passes on things, and I do feel awful for everyone involved in the King Richard production because they've all worked so hard and they deserve this recognition. Wanda Sykes being the host. From what I understand, this was the first time a Black man has directed the Oscars. And then this happens. I don't know. It was just really tasteless for me. I would have just much rather, if I were Jada, I would just much rather hurt Chris in the pockets than hurt him in the face. I don't know, but if that's how they run things, that's how these people are damn near half 100. These people are older half 100. These are grown ass people. These are people in their 50s. They good and grown. Like these are people who clearly know better. You know, just because just because black don't crack and they got good hair dye does not mean that they were young. This is not the Source Award, y'all. So yeah, I just think that is no one is aware of how Hollywood power structures work, and we as Black people, we need to read. But I do think too, like a lot of people who are spinning this Jada Pinkett is the devil narrative, and Denzel told me the devil was going to come for me. It's everybody's fault but his, whatever. Um, I do like the discourse though that's going on with discussing why do Black comedians always feel as if they need to make fun of Black women's hair. That narrative I like. I like that narrative. I think that that's a conversation that we need to do because it seems like from the Chitlin circuit all the way up to the Oscars, Black men feel as if they have the right to just degrade and disrespect Black women for the cost of a laugh. I think that that's unfair. So yeah, I definitely wanted to address this issue from the perspective of like power and influence in Hollywood. And how sometimes you have to play politics. And one of the reasons why I suggested the Art of War for Women, that there are definitely is a time and a place to enact revenge. And this was not the time, nor was it the place. But at the same time, a little bit of diplomacy definitely goes a long way. And I think if Chris Rock had extended that diplomacy, he may have had better access to what it was he actually wanted for his life. So this is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you ladies in the next video.